Let me ask you a question. So let's say there is a crime and either the victim or somebody on the victim's behalf goes and files a complaint with the police. If there is enough evidence, how much time do you think it takes from the FIR registration to the trial being completed and the accused being punished or being convicted? Now, you might say maybe 3 months, maybe 6 months, maybe 1 year, maybe 2 years. The answer is very often, even 5 years, you'd be very, very lucky. Right? So the question is, why does it take so much time? Now, there are many aspects to it, but today I'm going to talk about one specific side, which is the why does it take a lot of time for police to complete the investigation, number one. Number two, more than the time taken, most of the cases they end up in acquittal because the evidence is considered to be unreliable, witnesses turn hostile in the court, and very often, even in serious cases, the probability of getting justice is very, very low. Right? So let us understand why that happens and how we can solve the problem. So let's start with this example. So let's say there is a crime and a person has been murdered and there is a dead body lying somewhere on the ground or in a house. Now, as an investigator, when you go there, what do you have to do? So first thing is you need to describe the crime scene. So where the dead body was, what the house looked like. Now, how do you think it is done? You would now imagine that, okay, they will take photographs and those photographs will be submitted to the court, and that should be enough. And the reality is that's not true. So in India, I believe in most states, the procedure is that the police has to write a long report. So in South India, in Kerala, they call it Mahasar, and in other places they call it Panchanama. There are various names for that. But fundamentally, the police officer has to describe the whole thing in a long prose like a Shakespeare play. Imagine, right? You have to describe something such that when 5 years later or 10 years later, when somebody is reading that in the court, they should be able to recreate the scene of crime. Do you think it's possible? Or do you think it's easy? I don't think so. Right? I mean, if you try to describe a scene like, so this was a room, this was north, south, this is the length, it's very, very hard to visualize that. And that is where defense lawyers will get a chance to poke holes. Some direction will be wrong, there'll be some inconsistency, and then the case will just fall apart, right? Instead of doing all that, now today we have technology, right? Now remember, IPC, CRPC, all our laws were first drafted not today, not 10 years back, not 50 years back, more than 100 years back. IPC is 1861. CRPC again was in 19th century. Of course, we have modified it in 1973, but again, those are very, very old. So there is no use of technology, or I would say no meaningful use of technology today in investigation. Right? So as an example, in this case, if you go to a crime scene, what do? Very, very simple. Put a scale, so where our measuring tapes, so we have the distances there, just take photograph, right? Or take maybe 5 or 10 photographs, that should be enough. How much time will that take? 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, as opposed to like 5 hours, 6 hours. And it's not just time. What happens is now, let's say if one inquest takes, inquest is when a dead body is found, you have to go and prepare an investigative report. If that takes, let us say 5-6 hours, how many inquests can one person do in a day? Maximum 1. So now all the other cases, they will get piled up. And then we'll say, oh, we don't have people. No, we have people. But what we're doing is stupid. It's like, it's outdated. So that is one thing that has to change. Now, let's say now you have to go and go to a scene and look for evidence, or you need to conduct a raid, or you need to do some search of a house. What's the process now? You need 2 independent and respectable witnesses. Now just imagine, if you are asked by police that, okay, we are going for a raid, please come with us, right, and observe this and watch this and be a witness, and then 5 years later you come to a court and give evidence, how enthusiastic are you going to be? Most likely not. What will you say? You'll say, no, I don't want to come. What do most people do? They say, no, I don't want to come. Nobody wants to be anywhere close to where police investigation is going on. So what does police do? So very often they'll have to find somebody who's not a real witness, or find some way around that. It's totally unnecessary. Right? There was a time when it was required because we did not trust the police and we didn't have technology. Now today, when you go to a crime scene, carry a video camera. Now there are enough cameras. Our phones have wonderful cameras. Right? Just record that crime scene. Record the raid, record the search, seizure, whatever. right? Now you could argue that, okay, but it can be manipulated, it can be tampered with. But there are easy ways to work around it. So today you can build apps with very encrypted technology, right? Which can, where the video, if it is tampered, there should be some digital fingerprint. You can figure it out that, okay, this has been tampered. And what about written reports? Can't they be tampered? They can be. In fact, I would argue a lot of the reports that police writes, they are not very accurate. So the police officer, he has to certify that, okay, this is correct. The witness has to say, yeah, I saw this. They'll sign it. You can do the same thing with a video or with a photograph. So the point is, we need to completely change the way we do things, and we need to use technology. One more example. Now let's say I'm recording a statement. Now imagine this. You are a witness and police is asking you questions, they're recording a statement. How is it done? So they write it on a paper, understandable. And then do you sign it and say, okay, this is my statement? No, you don't do that. Why? Because that's a law. So law says that the witness does not have to sign. The police officer has to say that, okay, this is the witness statement, and by the way, I have read this over to the witness, and witness says this is correct and he has to sign. Now, two problems. One is the police officer can write anything he wants, number one. Number two, very often, I hope most often, they would write what is accurate, but then when the case goes for trial in the court, the witness say, oh, I never said that. So first of all, you waste a lot of time doing that. And second thing is, it more often than not, this whole thing falls apart when it comes to the trial. Now, why can't we just again use a video camera, record those proceedings, and if you are afraid about tampering, which I think we should be, right? There are all those videos, they can be live streamed or they can be uploaded to cloud and kept in a secure server. Now, one could again find a lot of problems, but all those problems can be solved to a great extent. But technology is now there in the hands of every single policeman, it's there in every mobile, and we have to start using that. Now, let's talk about the next step. So now let's see, you collect evidence, right? So let's say there's a dead body and post-mortem is done, and the internal body part, they are collected for chemical examination. Or you go to a scene and you, let's say it's a forgery case, so you collect some documents. Or it's a say explosive case, you collect some samples. It's an narcotics case and you collect some samples from there. Now you need to test all that. So what do you need? You need testing facilities, right? Now again, let me ask you this. Let's say a request is sent to a forensic lab for a report on it could be an explosive, could be a chemical, could be poison, could be anything. How much time do you think it should take? And how much time do you think it actually takes? So I would have said, okay, if a very expensive blood report or a very complicated, blood report, medical report that I want for my personal health, if I go to a diagnostic clinic, I get the report in typically like 6 to 12 hours, 24 hours, sometimes 2-3 days. How much time will this take? 2 days, 3 days, 6 days? It will take probably like 2 years, 1 year, sometimes even more, very easily. Why does it take that much time? Again, we'll argue, oh, there is too much work, there's too much workload. But again, how are the diagnostic labs giving out results so quickly? Right? Because there is technology and there is process. This, if it takes imagine this, investigation is going on. Now you have talked to the witnesses, right? After 2 years, the report comes. Then it goes for trial, and then it takes further another couple of years. And by the time it reaches the court for trial, the investigating officer has gone somewhere, he has no recollection, some witness has died, other witnesses have turned hostile, people have lost interest, and the case will just collapse in most cases, right? So essentially, we are running a 21st century, investigation team, right? Using technology and process which was designed like 100 or 200 years earlier. And unless we change that, we cannot, I repeat, we cannot make this process faster, we cannot make it more effective, and we cannot secure conviction even when we have strong evidence, right? Now, how to change all this? Now, here many things the government can change. There are many areas which require the judiciary, the prosecutors, the police, the government to come together and simplify the rules. Some of them may even require some acts in parliament, but all those things can be done and should be done. Now today I am going to stop here. I am not going to talk about the next question, which I will discuss in the next video, which is that once let's say a police charge sheets a case and it goes for trial, how long do you think it takes for the case to come for trial? And if it takes years, Why does that happen? So that we'll talk about in on another day. So that's it for today, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you.